Browns 2024 season, and it has not gone well. And it's going to be a tough stretch to close it out, starting with the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you at the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jeff Lloyd. Appreciate everybody who makes this show their first listen every single day. The everyday crowd, you're an amazing bunch. I appreciate you all so much. Everybody, continue to become an everydayer. Subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Just want to thank everybody, but definitely was under the weather the last couple of days. Certainly not 100%. But hey, there's, how does it go? You're listed as out, you're listed as doubtful, you're listed as questionable, you're listed as probable. We're doubtful, but we're going to get the job done here today. This Browns now eliminated, certainly after a very, very poor showing Sunday in Pittsburgh. Browns started out well, then things just kind of went off the rails from there. A guy that I was kind of hoping for to maybe recapture something, Kadarius Toney, just out there, and for a guy who's trying to save his life in the NFL, I mean, just completely unexcusable. Browns did the absolute appropriate thing and just released him. Goodbye. There's no need for a player like that when you're fighting for your lives and having somebody like that around. Bringing in Browns obviously now have put Jedrick Wills on IR. The Jedrick Wills time here with the Cleveland Browns is over. Yes, another move that probably, hopefully, and anybody who knows, look, I've been up and down, but I was never for a long-term commitment on Jedrick Wills. I was never for a fifth-year option on Jedrick Wills. Browns tried to play the hand, hoped for improvement. It just never came. And in his last year here, you really questioned, whether or not Jedrick Wills was truly even, at this point, caring about playing for the Cleveland Browns. You can't have stuff like that. You just can't. Get the Kansas City Chiefs coming in here this week. Jameis Winston will be your starter. We're going to talk a little bit more. And, there are a lot of people wondering about DTR. And I think it's valid conversations and questions to have. But Jameis is your starter this week. Should Jameis be your starter going on for the last 4 weeks? You can make a case here for Jameis for the last 4 weeks. You can make a case for DTR. You can make the case either way. I do believe Kevin Stefanski when he says he wants to win. Browns currently slated in right now at the number 8 spot as far as the draft is concerned. There's certainly at 3 wins chances that things could go better for the Browns here, and the draft position could go up. I do think most likely the Browns draft position is probably gonna go down. You're at 8, between 8, 9, 10, 11. There's not that much of a drastic difference here. And if Coach Stefanski thinks that the best thing for this locker room week in, week out is to go out and play a highly contested game, give everything you have, let the chips fall where they may, and you win, or maybe you lose, then, you got to trust Coach here in this situation. Jameis, and, it's tough because, Jameis is, we all think he's going to come back to Cleveland. There is certainly a possibility he doesn't come back to Cleveland. And, any guy who's now basically been labeled as a backup, you want to basically prove everyone wrong and prove, that you can find a way to be a starter again in this league. He has certainly developed a great rapport with Jerry Jeudy. Cedric Tillman returned to practice today in a limited basis. So you'll see how the week goes. Certainly getting Cedric Tillman back would be huge because I think he gives the Browns 2 absolutely strong receiving options and allows Elijah Moore to kind of just be diverse in what he does. Because I think they truly want to see everything they can with Jameis. And look, I guess at this point it's probably been a little bit more bad than good with Jameis. But there's things that, we're not considering. The offensive line is not playing that great. The Browns just don't have a running game. And I think that's one of the weirdest things about this team. And even last year, when they weren't great, they at least found away, and I'm talking about the run game, for the run game to be apart. It wasn't such basically a black eye on the Browns offense the way it has been this year. I did think it was kind of funny that, Nick Chubb was asked if he was going to maybe shut it down and try to get ready for 2025. There's certainly not a shut down personality in Nick Chubb's body. It's just not how the guy is wired. This is my job. This is what I'm paid to do. Whether we're out of it, we're not out of it. There's 4 games left to play. I'm going to be a part of those 4 games. So, for Jameis, what can be proven here? It's not that far off. I mean, every one of these teams on the docket here to close this out, between Kansas City, between Cincinnati, between Miami and Baltimore. You're talking about 2 playoff teams, certainly. You're talking about 2 teams contending still probably for playoff livelihood, certainly with Miami and the Bengals. It's a long stretch, but they are technically still alive. So all of these games are going to mean something to everybody they're playing. Maybe Baltimore, the final game of the season, doesn't mean anything, but we're not going to know, obviously, well, until we get to week 18. So you should be able to get a great look here at Jameis Winston over the next couple of weeks. I think there's definitely going to be a high-end competitor brought in. Where the Browns go with that route is a guy like Justin Fields. Sam Darnold's going to get a lot of money. Is that something the Browns are going to even entertain? And if the Vikings, are really excited to have Sam Darnold, where does that leave a J.J. McCarthy of the world, the Kirk Cousins of the world? I mean, it's going to be a certainly weird offseason as far as, quarterback movement, because you have teams that need them. Is there overpay involved? How do you get these guys? You've only got 2 in the draft that look like they're surefire first-round picks. One of them probably is locked and loaded. It's like the worst kept secret in the NFL. That Shedeur Sanders and the Las Vegas Raiders have medallions looking to come to fruition for Shedeur, and certainly for the city of Las Vegas and for the Raiders. Cam Ward now comes to a spot where the Browns are 8 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 before the Browns would have an opportunity. I know a lot of people want to talk about Drew Allar from Penn State, and I think Drew is a really nice player. But my thought process is, if Drew Allar is not going to go in the first round, you might as well just go get another $1 million or so from Penn State, stay, probably get the chance to improve your draft position, and then you're looking at hopefully Drew Allar to be a first round pick for the 2026 NFL draft. But it's Jameis's ball to play with for now. I think it should be that way. Chiefs come in, obviously Kareem Hunt coming back, Travis Kelce certainly. Will she or won't she be in the building Sunday in Cleveland? All things that I think are probably, not necessarily part of the game, but are certainly part of the game. But we do have some stuff to talk about. The next 4 games, it's going to be certainly important for some guys, and we're going to talk about some of those guys that it's really going to be important for as we continue on here on your latest Locked On Browns. Always appreciate everybody for being along for the ride with me. Hey, Locked On Browns fans. I know you guys are like me, and your holiday shopping list is, well, let's just say far from complete. Well, if that's the case, I've got the perfect gift for the passionate sports fan in your life. Perhaps you've heard of IceShaker. IceShaker is now officially licensed with the NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA, and Major League Baseball, and will make the ideal gift. Created by and used by the Gronkowski brothers, so this thing is tough. IceShakers has sold over 1 million bottles. They have changed the game with workout bottles, and this is the gift you've been looking for. Go to IceShaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL at checkout to receive 25% on your order. Kitchen grade stainless steel bottles that won't absorb odor like the plastic bottles do. Third-party test results all have checked out well. They have an agitator. The agitator works as a strainer as well, and makes it a very solid tailgating cup for mixed drinks. Doesn't make any noise like you get with most of these other cups. Order your team branded bottles today at IceShaker.com and use code LOCKEDONNFL for 25% off your order. IceShakers, show your support for your teams with the best branded workout bottles on the market. IceShakers. Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. If you love watching the game, you're going to love Prize Picks, the easiest, most exciting way to play daily fantasy. Whether it's football, basketball, or any of your favorite sports, Prize Picks makes your holidays bigger and brighter. Here's why. You need to check it out. You can now win up to 200 times your money on Prize Picks. Plus, this holiday season, they are giving away $30 million in rewards during Picksmas and offering 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, Prize Picks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. This week, you have Travis Kelce. He's probably going to be somewhere in the 60s. Over, under. Browns have always had issues with tight ends. Kelce back in Ohio, certainly something to watch out. Download the Prize Picks app and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly when you pay just $5. Prize Picks, run your game. Your latest Locked On Browns continues. Your host, Jeff Lloyd. Again, we appreciate you all for making the show your first listen every single day. Everyday Crowd is an amazing bunch of people, and you should become an everyday or subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. Now, news today. Mike Hall has been designated to return from injured reserve. This is actually a pretty big deal, in my opinion. Browns are always so vague, certainly on injuries. Like, okay, we just get the weekly now. He's not playing this week. Okay, coach, can you fight? Nope. So we haven't heard anything on Mike. But to hear that, Mike is eligible to start practicing with the hopes of coming off. If he can go this week, getting these last 4 games in for second-round pick, Mike Hall is huge. I mean, you want to talk about a guy who's just got an absolute big incomplete as far as what you would grade his rookie season. And, it's never good, but Mike was drafted as a baby. Mike was not even 21 till well after the Browns drafted him. But again, not playing certainly doesn't improve a player's play, essentially, right? So Mike, and again, with it being quality opponents in Kansas City, in Cincinnati, in Miami, and certainly with Baltimore, this is a huge stretch for the Browns' second-round pick made last April. Mike has potential. He truly does. And he has a potential to kind of be a guy that can contribute in both ways on the interior. Mike's athleticism, if you remember before Mike got hurt, the Browns were lining him up at edge at times, allowing Miles to be a little bit more flexible. This was a guy the Browns really, really coveted last year during the draft process. Got their guy. Unfortunately, their guy didn't get the time that I think they are hoping for. This can maybe be salvaged a little bit. The Browns, and look, whatever Mike Hall does over these next 4 games, this is not going to change any plans the Browns have towards the offseason. If they are looking to acquire a big-time free agent defensive tackle, say Milton Williams from the Philadelphia Eagles, whatever Mike does over these next 4 games is not going to change that. If the Browns have eyes for a top defensive tackle in this draft, perhaps Mason Graham out of Michigan, please, whatever Mike Hall does over this next 4 weeks is not going to affect that. But the Browns need one more legit dude, whether it's inside or whether it's outside. Now, if that happens and Mike Hall still hits, bonus, kudos, obviously, right? So that is going to be one of the bigger things that I'm looking for here over the next couple of weeks is certainly the development of Mike Hall Jr. We've gotten to see a little bit more and finally gotten to see a little bit, of Juwon Briggs over the last couple of weeks. The activity's been good. I think what we've seen from Juwon to this point has been very good and almost to the point of why didn't this maybe happen sooner? Maurice Hurst, sadly, on IR again. This is 3 times now in 2 years. I mean, this is the same story it's always been for Maurice Hurst Jr., and it sucks. I'm not going to lie. This has been the issue. Kid had a great career at Michigan. Then there were questions and concerns. Did he have a heart issue? And basically, he's been in the NFL for a long time, but he's been out of the NFL on IR most of the time within his time within the NFL. It's a shame. I'm not saying the Browns don't consider bringing him back, but unfortunately for Maurice Hurst Jr., there's just no way you can rely on this player. So certainly, getting Mike Hall to play well over these last 4 weeks, getting Juwon Briggs to play well over this last 4 weeks. Shelby Harris, my guess is this will probably be it. Dalvin Tomlinson, there is one more year on the contract. Does he maybe have a desire to do something different next year somewhere else? To the Browns maybe see, hey, maybe bringing him back at his age maybe is not the best thing for them. Browns went from such a great defensive line in 2023 to here we are 1 year later and basically having all the same questions about this defensive line we had before they put together that final defensive line for the run that the team put together in 2023. Elijah McGuire. How about Isiah McGuire being the highest rated player by PFF? Highest rated player in the entire NFL, according to PFF last week. Now, I know there's sometimes some confusion necessarily because, look, just because you grade it out doesn't necessarily always mean there is great production. That is one of the weird things, and I know that's one of the battles many of you people have had with PFF forever. But for McGuire, that is a feather in the cap. And look, I don't know where it's going to go towards getting him the opportunity to be considered a starter in 2025. As much as I want to talk about Mason Carter, I will also talk about, Mason Graham, and I will talk about Abdul Carter from Penn State. You look at him and he's listed at 6'3", 250. If he is that size, he's more than fine. I know there's plenty of folks that aren't going to believe that he's 6'3", 250. Well, we're going to find out all the facts about that soon enough, obviously. But great player, plays with great intensity, great hands on his outside pass rush moves, would be a great, great addition to this Cleveland Browns defensive line as well. So you really, for me, over the next, 4 games here, this last month of the season, the continued development of Isiah McGuire, trying to find development from Mike Hall Jr. and certainly from Juwon Briggs is huge. Because I'm not saying, again, that this is going to change the way the Browns view anything that is going to go on as far as next season, but it is something the Browns absolutely have to consider. They have to work on this defensive line. They have to find out what they have right now from this defensive line. Either way, there is work to be done. They need to know if it is a lot of work, if it is a moderate amount of work that they have to do on this offensive line. It's a really tough spot for the Browns to be in currently. I don't think they expected that group to fall apart as quickly as it did. So this is the case of where they are at right now. And it's a tough spot. And for the team, you hate it, but facts are facts and they really have to, figure this out. But this is a crucial next couple of weeks, certainly for Mike Hall Jr., certainly for Isiah McGuire, certainly, of course, for the other young defensive tackle. This is something that they truly need to have come to fruition for them over the next couple of weeks, and we'll see how it works out. And there's going to be a lot of reps to be had, and hopefully these young guys, even what turns out to be such a terrible and lost year, the Juwon Briggs, the Mike Halls, and the Isiah McGuire, they can kind of go out with a bang here, and hopefully not a completely lost season for them as much as it has been for the team. Your latest Locked On Browns continues. Don't anybody go anywhere. Get ready to take the NFL action on with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Your latest Locked On Browns continues. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. We appreciate you all again for making the show your first listen. If you are not an everydayer by now, make a new plan. Stand subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It is always free wherever you get your podcasts. Certainly, there has been questions to this point about Jameis Winston still remaining to be the Browns quarterback. His play, certainly. You would wonder if, he would be pulled for that. But now comes the question, certainly, of DTR. I think there are things that people need to understand. Dorian Thompson-Robinson was only a 5th-round pick. He was only a 5th-round pick. So that does not necessarily mean when the Browns drafted him, they envisioned a future starter, a long-term starter. There was a guy who they liked his ability. They liked his running ability, wanted to see if they could develop it. Unfortunately, this is a team that's been in contention, at least last year. But you still got to see DTR a little bit. This year, it was tough, and it was an emergency spot, certainly, when Deshaun got hurt. Now, they're in a dilemma because there is the thought of playing Jameis because you want to continue that relationship in 2025. There could certainly be the thought of, well, we might be revamping the entire quarterback room. So does DTR deserve a little bit of an opportunity to play here so we can evaluate him as well? I can see this from both sides. There also is, and not a lot of teams care about this, but there also is the fact that the Browns may be saying to themselves, we kind of owe it to the league and certainly to the AFC to at least put out what we think is our best lineup each and every week. You don't want to basically roll over. The Browns are not going to be in contention for the number 1 pick. I doubt the Browns would even get the number 1 pick if they lose the next 4 games. I don't know if they can get much higher than 7 or 6 if they were to lose out. There is some scenarios and some games that are going to involve some of these guys. Certainly there's another Jaguars Titans game that's going to swing a draft spot one way or the other. The Jets certainly could be stupid enough to win another game and allow the Browns to vault them as well. So I get the crowd that maybe says they want to see DTR. You think Jameis has been extremely inconsistent, which is true. Absolutely. He turns the ball over at a high rate, which is true, and we all knew it. The question would be, is there any way to ever tighten that up? Certainly, as I mentioned earlier, a better offensive line and being able to run the ball with better ability would certainly be things the Browns could do. It's just extremely weird. We're talking about a Cleveland Browns team that cannot run the ball with any effectiveness whatsoever, certainly during this regime, at least. Now, DTR, and the other thing is it's got to be something where you say he's the starter and you got to announce it to everybody on Monday or Tuesday. Not one of these things, where, like the Baltimore game last year where we found out at Sunday at noon that basically Sunday at 11, that DTR is your starter. If he's going to start, he needs to be put in the role of the starter. He needs to practice like the starter. He needs to go to film like the starter. He needs to go to the meetings like a starter. So, I'm all for it, but I think if you're truly looking at the way this QB market is going to be this offseason, and you truly think, Jameis could be a significant part of either the quarterback room or possibly even your starting quarterback, then I think you have to continue this. You want to see how Jameis plays with your guys. You want to see how Jameis plays within your system. You're going to hopefully upgrade your offensive line. You're going to hopefully find a way to get better, running game play. We'll see if David Njoku, it's all over the place, could miss day to day. Who knows what anybody's talking about as far as David Njoku and his hamstring. Did finish the game last week. But, you want to see him to continue to work, certainly with Jerry Jeudy, certainly with Cedric Tillman, certainly with perhaps Elijah Moore, who could be part of this team. And then, of course, certainly with David Njoku. So, I understand it from both sides. Now, the guess is if Jameis is going to be part of this quarterback room next year, it's going to be another significant quarterback as well, which means that DTR could be 3. DTR could maybe not be here because maybe you choose to chase a veteran quarterback. Perhaps you choose to draft a quarterback at some point in this class, which puts DTR certainly in an odd spot. So, if you want Dorian Thompson-Robinson to play, I get it. What we know to this point is we don't think he's going to be as effective in the passing game as Jameis is. Without the run game to lean on, you're basically not putting your best foot forward in these remaining games, certainly against the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Dolphins, and the Ravens, of course. So, how the Browns pull this off, how the Browns manipulate this over the next couple of weeks, it's 100% their call. But if it is on the fact that Jameis Winston appears to be in a good running spot for contention of what that quarterback room is going to be in 2025, I think you need to look at it, and I think you need to truly think about it because, that's kind of where this team is at right now. So, that is certainly something we're going to look to see. We know it's Jameis this week. And look, Jameis, it's been, been a couple of rough ones. The Chiefs, it's been really interesting for them this year. Definitely getting all the luck of the world right now. There's no question about it. But luck normally tends to favor the good team. So you can kind of see how that works out and the way it works out for the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs usually lose a game in December and find it, just enough to basically tighten everything back up to go on that run. Not sure, maybe this will be the week. But Browns Chiefs, it should be a fun week. Look, we change, I'm not saying you change your fandom. Maybe you change your way you're viewing and rooting for this team right now. But, to say you want to root for the success of these young defensive linemen who the Browns so desperately need to take a step up is understandable. Hopefully Cedric Tillman can come back this week, come back healthy, and maybe we can feel a little better about the top of that wide receiver. Certainly, the depth chart at the wide receiver position between Jerry Jeudy and certainly between Cedric Tillman. So we're going to continue and chug along here this week. Again, I appreciate your support. I was down a little bit for the weather. There was also certainly, had a passing that I had to deal with as well. So it's not been the easiest couple of days for your boys. Again, but sadly for you Browns fans, it's not been the easiest couple of months for y'all. But, we sit here, we congregate together, we talk about this team that we love so much, and we certainly hope for better. I am Jeff Floyd. Again, we appreciate y'all for making the show your first listen. Make sure you become an everyday or subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. Don't miss the Locked On NFL shows. Tyler Rowan and certainly Anthony Wiggins, guys are fantastic at what they do, covering the league as a whole. Make sure you check that out. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.